the wrestler that you faced that was least likely to visit the laundry and wash his gear.
Ooh. We always hated that, especially in Florida. A lot of guys get in the habit, coming back. And like I said, it's hot and humid here in the state of Florida in summertime. And, a lot of those buildings back in the 70s I'm going to didn't have air conditioning at the time, sort of like the UK, or slow getting the air conditioning in the public buildings. So not only would you have a packed house and 110 degrees and humidity inside that ring, but back in those days, if you recall, smoking was legal in public places. So of course you go to a sporting event, what 99% of the people in there, they're males, and they're 99% of them are going to smoke. And if they don't, they want to impress a friend, so they'll just light up a cigarette anyway. So not only are you working your butt off in this heat and humidity, but you're inhaling all that damn smoke and everything. So that was one of my least favorite things. What was your question again?
The wrestler who didn't visit the laundry as often as they should have done.
Oh, so anyway, after the event, a lot of these guys would come in and just throw their gear in the bag and throw it in the back of their trunk, and they get home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. They just want to hit the bed, so they leave that damn bag in the trunk of their car. So overnight, that stench is fumigating. So now it's smoke, sweat, and all the other elements. And they grab a fresh towel. Hell, I'll just do it. And you could always tell those guys, they'd come to the locker room, they'd sit down. If they'd sit down next to you, they open that bag, and man, that stench would just roll out of that bag. And you'd notice the guys who did it, because there'd be empty spaces on both sides of them, nobody getting clear, and everybody would come and kind of set, a can of air refreshener or some Brood or whatever the style of cologne was back in those days. And here you might need this. And they put those damn clothes on, you go out and I'm notorious for having a weak stomach. There was one guy, you want to know the one guy, and I don't think he's around anymore because he's a big guy. He beat the crap, but there were several of them. He wasn't the only one, but he was the biggest. Siegfried Stinky, what you call him, Ziggy Stinky.
Right.
That was his name. Instead of Siegfried Stinky, he was Ziggy Stinky. Because, man, he stunk. He stunk worse than any cesspool, that I've ever been around. I rib Robbie Brookside, Liverpool. Well, you guys have Blackpool, Liverpool, and cesspool. There ain't no cesspool over here. That's the United States, but that's me and Robbie ribbing each other.
I think I live near cesspool. I'm not too far away from it.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So Stinky was probably the worst, but there were several offenders, and there's no excuse for it, but it was just being lazy. But Stinky just had a habit of it, and it wasn't only in Florida. That went around with him everywhere. And guys, after a while, I mean, you'd finally get to the point where you'd hate for those guys to get it. The bigger guys, of course, had the bigger issues because they sweat more. A big old Leon White, Vader. Vader had that issue with several people. Sometimes people just refused, but we didn't have that option back in our day. You worked with who you're booked with, but as the business grew, the guy got more powerful. You didn't want to work with somebody. You go to the boss, tell them why you didn't want to work with them, and the money, most of the time you got your way.